Oh, I love that music. It gets me all fired up every time I hear it. Hello and welcome everybody to the first show of 2024. Here we are in January, two-thirds of the way through the month, and I hope it has been a wonderful new year for you with lots of changes and lots of progress, which is what we'll be talking about today. My name is Dan Olexa. I am the founder of Transcendent Living. I help individuals lead better lives and transcend the normal, not by solving their problems, by helping them solve themselves. It's when someone understands themselves better and understands their power, reconnects to their power, the problems tend to go away or diminish in a profound way so that they can move forward into a fuller, happier, more successful life. And that is our topic for today is comfort, discomfort, and progress. And it's timely here in January as we start the year. I think about there's that one day of the year that we can change our lives, which was 23 days ago, January 1, when majority of the world set New Year's resolutions as here's how I am choosing to enter the new year and set goals for the upcoming 365 days. And now 24 days into the month, most people have stopped working on those goals and because the going got too tough. Let's really dial into that then with the ideas of comfort, discomfort, and progress. The old ways of doing things, whatever your goal is for this year that you want to change and do differently, the old way of what you were doing was comfortable. It was within your comfort zone, literally. In so many ways, the most dangerous place in the world would be the location labeled comfort zone for all of us. Because in the comfort zone, it's possible to get really comfortable, no pun intended. And when we get too comfortable, we stop growing. We stay fixed in what we know. We don't move forward and take risk to go outside of our comfort zone. And we just become stagnant. You probably know people who've been through that, or you might be struggling with it yourself right now. But then on January 1, or in the few weeks leading up to January 1, as we think about what we want to change, what we want to bring into the new year, what we want to create as a new self and new outcomes, then we start making choices of what we want to stop doing, what we want to start doing, choices that are new and unfamiliar and outside of the comfort zone, which automatically labels them as uncomfortable because they're no longer within the zone of comfort. When we start expanding, when we get into the uncomfortable places as we're growing, we can choose. We have a choice in that spot. Do we fall back into the comfort zone because it's easier, because it's a short term payoff of I want to feel safe, I want to feel comfortable again. Being out here is too uncomfortable. Or do we stop and be in the discomfort, notice what is making us uncomfortable, and then literally expand our comfort zone so that it becomes bigger and we become more um, empowered, I guess would be the word I'd use there. Taking that risk, becoming a new person in so many ways of doing a new thing, no longer doing an old thing, replacing it with a new habit. In the old, I tend to think of old navigation maps here where you would see the coastline of the continent a few hundred years ago, and just a few lines of waves out from the coast would be a drawing of a sea serpent, and with the notation here, there be monsters. And that's how we tend to view our comfort zone. We're in this place where things are comfortable, our needs are met, we're surviving, maybe not thriving, but we're at least surviving. Anything outside of this sphere might be something to be fearful of because there's danger out there, there's the unknown out there. But in a universe of pure potential, there's also opportunities for growth, opportunities for new successes, for expansion of self, of being, literally being a new person and creating a new life. But that only happens if we find our resolve, or when we find our resolve to stand strong outside of the old space and let the comfort zone expand to us as we sit or stand in the uncomfortable feelings, notice them, ask why they're there, and then let them flow, knowing that you will be okay, you will be safe. As I said, the reason that so many New Year's resolutions fall apart is because it becomes too difficult. The old habit starts to kick in and draws us back into that old space. The strongest emotion always wins. It's one of the key things I learned in my hypnotherapy training. If the discomfort is stronger than the idea and the emotional connection to who you will be as an expanded self doing the new things, you'll fall back into the old habit. If your hope and vision, your feeling of happiness, or whatever word, joyousness that you want to put on your expanded, empowered self, if you're connected to that person more than to the old habit will eventually fall away. And that's when we move past it. So when you feel that discomfort, sit with it, notice it, allow it to flow, be with it. It's part of the growth. The biggest thing to say here is don't panic, because sometimes there's such a jarring change. Maybe we do a 180 in life and make a bold change. Sometimes those are a little more difficult to sustain than the 1 or 2 degrees of changes over time, but both occur, and sometimes they can happen without expectation, particularly the hard turns. It's easy to panic in those situations and get in our head, think about the fear rather than feeling the fear. Those are two very different experiences. When we're thinking about the fear, we tend to project it more, make it worse than it is, make those monsters out in the sea even bigger. But I'm reminded here of my scuba diving training. If at any point when someone is underwater as a diver, if there's a moment of crisis, the last thing that anyone wants to do is to panic. Because if they were to go into panic, they'll breathe faster, use up the resource of air that's in the tank on their back, and most likely put themselves in greater danger and at greater risk than if they had stayed calm, breathing slowly, extending the air reserve they have in the tank by having those calm, deep breaths. And it's no different here. If we go into panic in life, we will use up our resources, whether that is monetary resources or whether it's just the resource of our energy and our focus, take us out of our focus toward the future on who we want to be, and fall back into that familiar comfort zone. That's just one more thing of the same old, same old. One of my friends, who was also a scuba diving instructor, was a rescue diver. And in his training, we were talking about it one day, one of the cores of his rescue service diver training was, if you have air, there's no problem. So you look at your gauge while you're underwater. As long as that gauge is showing air pressure, there is no problem, because you can breathe, and in that time of breathing, find and create solutions. Bring that idea here to the surface. If you've got air, there's no problem. There's an abundance of air around us all on this planet. Thousands of feet of it that presses down at 14.7 pounds per square inch on our body, and we don't even think about it having that much weight. There's an absolute abundance of air here. We tune into the idea. If you have air, you don't have a problem. Stay calm and focus. live in the abundance. Allow your comfort zone to expand. Allow yourself to become bigger. Stop playing small. The old you, the one you want to change, the one you don't want to be anymore, or at least didn't want to be on January 1. That's a small self. There we go. I'm back. Wonderful technology. I just love technology. So, what happened there? We were evidently playing in some very high energies that caused my internet to go out, and I had to bounce over to my hotspot to be able to continue this message to you all. No panic. Response to what happened. Move on with life. Can't get much more poignant than that in this moment as an illustration of the principles. So, as we begin to come to a close here today, think about who you want to be. Think about who you're comfortable being and who in this moment you're beginning to be uncomfortable being. Discomfort can also be a reason to expand, to get out of your comfort zone when it starts to no longer feel like a place you want to be. Where do you want to be? And know that as you stretch into that new space, there's going to be some uncomfortableness that goes along with it. Embrace that because that's growth. The discomfort that's coming from being stagnant is boredom. That one can be deadly. Get out of the boredom. Go into the expansion of discomfort that leads you to playing bigger, and fully being seen, living happy and successful on your terms. I want to take a moment here before I close out today to invite you all to a LinkedIn audio event that I am doing on Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. On your advice is not your superpower. We tend to think that others come to us because we are so all-knowing and wise, which you all are, that they want our advice. Actually, no, they don't. And that's what the conversation is going to be about. Your advice is not your superpower. There are other things that are even more empowering in conversations. With that, I'll wrap up for today. Look forward to seeing you in another month when I return with the next episode. Hope to see you all on Friday. Take care.